Free stream mic check. Hey there, adventurers. My name is Judd, and this is Short Rest Studios, where we believe fun builds community. Thanks for joining me tonight for Craft and Chat Live as I work on this pretty amazing Kalanzar Red Dragon mini from Reaper Miniatures. I've already primed him, so he's ready to go, ready to get painted on him. But I want to take just a moment and welcome you and say thanks so much for watching, and to say if you enjoy this content, if you enjoy my weekly episodes, then consider supporting the channel by joining the Adventurers Guild at patreon.com/shortreststudios. I would really, really appreciate that. And, let me know in the chat if you can't hear me. I think everybody can hear me. Sure seems that way. But, check out patreon.com/shortreststudios. It would mean a lot to me if you consider supporting this channel. And I want to let you know about a brand new partnership that I have with Carolina Game Tables, and I'm going to give you a link in the chat. And you can use code SHORTRESTStudios to get 10% off. Can't seem to get to the chat on YouTube. CarolinaGameTables.com. You can use code SHORTRESTStudios. And I'll get you 10% off your purchase. You should really check out their stuff. That makes some fantastically beautiful, sturdy, functional tables. You'll love them. Check them out. All right. Well, I think. Oh yeah, and Friday, because I'm actually hard at work on it right now. I'm trying to get Friday's episode, the 10 most terrifying subterranean monsters in D&D, ready to go out on Friday. So be sure to check that out on YouTube. I usually release them around 10 in the morning on Friday. So let's go ahead and switch camera views and switch on the light so I can see what I'm doing. And here we go. I'm going to lower that light down just a little bit. I have an app connected to my streaming software that's supposed to be giving me the ability to chat with everyone from one place on both Twitch and YouTube, but it doesn't seem to be working. So I'm going to try to keep an eye on everything. And move the light. I'm going to try to keep an eye on everything and make sure that I can talk to everybody. So all right. I'm just trying to. All right. I think I got myself situated now. So Kalanzar here is going to be. You know what? I just realized is that I actually need to change the aspect of this so you can actually see it the way that I'm doing it. There we go. I forgot to do that beforehand, but that was fun for you guys, wasn't it? Oh, just moving my keyboard and mouse here. Can get to them if I need to. All right, so we're actually going to begin I'll try make that light a little bit closer. We're going to begin with some brown. This is always going to be a good undercoat for blue. And the thing that I've discovered, like I use Vallejo paints, and I probably told you, I know I've told you guys that before. Let's kind of dry it out. Typically, I use Game Color, which is for models, for miniatures. I'm going to move my microphone a little bit too. That's for miniatures and for gaming miniatures, right? Tabletop game miniatures, and this stuff is for models, model color. And so the same color in Game Color tends to be a bit brighter, bolder, more vivid than the model color version. These are not the same color. In actuality, if I were to find you, if I can even find it, that's not it. Well, regardless, most of them are a little different, but I think the browns are basically the same, and black is definitely the same. White is definitely the same. So I don't really sweat it. But I also have a lot of different shades of brown in the Game Color paints. So, and once again, you can see I'm not going to be able to use my painting handle for this guy. And this time it's just because he's so big. I probably won't even have to pick him up to paint. So, good evening, Stephen. Thanks for joining us. So I'm going to start with a coat of brown, and what that's going to how that's going to work out is it's going to provide sort of the shadows, the deeper shadows on this model, because he's going to be a red dragon, and I'm going to give him, I'm going to have a lot of color variation. We kind of show you the colors I'm intending to use here. So I've got the brown here for the base coat. Then I'm going to go with a more reddish brown, this Parasite brown Game Color, and I'm going to, so basically I'm going to paint the whole thing brown. Then I'm going to paint the majority of it with Parasite brown, and then we'll get to Bloody Red, which is going to be the primary color that you're going to see. And essentially, the brown provides a good undercoat for the red, but also there will be places where, you know, like in his, I don't know if you can even tell here, just like where the musculature creates some places where there would be shadows. There will be some of those darker brown colors that will remain seen the way I'm going to paint it. And then I'm going to add some orange and yellow highlights. And actually, probably I'm going to do yellow on his chest here. Yellow and orange there or something like that. And I was thinking about, I did see a really cool version of this painted so that it had like a gradient on the wings, and I was going to try out wet blending, which I have done before, but not on a miniature because I can't. I don't know. It's always been so small. I can't seem to do that at such a small scale. But since this guy's a little bit bigger, I thought about trying to do like wet blend a darker color at the bottom of his wings. But I don't know. It depends on what he looks like when I get done with the rest of it. So we're going to start with brown, and we're basically just going to paint the whole stinking thing brown. So shake up that paint. And I love using a wet palette. It tends to, because I tend to not finish painting a mini in one session. I should have put a whole lot more in there, man. And I'm just thinning it out. Just put a little bit of water in it, thinning it out a bit. Always a good plan. And actually, even with this guy, I'm going to wear my visor because I'm blind. So I just want to make sure I've got him in a good spot for you guys. So just start anywhere. Yeah, maybe I should use the painting handle. So yeah, That's actually a little too thin, maybe. I think I'm gonna try to use this handle. Now that I've done that, let's see if I can get him on here. He's just so dang big, man. Okay, so this is one of the good things about, you saw it here, folks. This is one of the good things about painting an actual plastic mini instead of a printed 3D printed mini. I still can't get him in there. Right. Okay, come on. We want to push this on. Come on, man. It's not giving me any give here. I have a little trouble with my paint handle. One side of it's super tight and the other side of it's not, so sometimes it kind of doesn't cooperate with me. And there we go again. Oh my gosh. Well, you guys get to see a lot of fun stuff this evening. So give me just a second, and I'm gonna get a paper towel so I can clean up my mess. All right. Clean up my mess. Thanks, Stephen. Appreciate that. That doesn't make me feel like any less of a doofus. Once I was, so there's a video, I did it a couple years ago, where I was painting this white dragon mini, like a young white dragon mini. Really cool mini. I get a little more. Really cool mini, and I was having so much fun painting. It came out really great, but I actually knocked it off hit the handle at one point and broke one of his feet off. Well, and I think what I'm going to do right here is just kind of lay it down like this. And also, I think that the person that I bought it from, it was before I had a 3D printer. Either that or I had a really small printer, and I was thinking this was going to be a much bigger model than it was. And I don't think that they didn't use the right kind of resin printing it. I think they probably printed it with standard resin, which is really way too brittle for miniatures, right? You need something with a little bit of give for miniatures. Like this guy's wings. I mean, look at this, isn't resin. It's not printed, so Steven, you almost got to see something else go wrong. I just had a flash of the wing coming off this thing while I was bending it around. Hello, Lixie MC over there on Twitch. Thanks for joining me. That is my daughter, Lixie MC. She streams. She's been streaming Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach and she does some Minecraft and stuff on Twitch. So you should check her out, Lixie_MC on Twitch. I just need to pour a whole bunch more paint on here because I'm gonna need a lot of it. And it's okay, don't worry, guys. I have like, I think I got 2 or 3 more bottles of that stuff. So, but it's all right. We should have plenty. Okay. Don't want it to be too thin. Don't want it to be too thick. And I'm gonna paint. So these claws are not gonna be. They're not going to be red. I'm gonna paint them like probably like bone white or something. Although I'm tempted to go black. Every time I paint claws on something like this black, because I think like it'll look really cool, I just feel like I decide to paint them bone white anyway because they're because they get lost. They're too dark. I just like to be able to see them better. And I guess in a way it looks a little more realistic. So this is going to take a lot of brown paint, guys. Maybe I should have airbrushed this too. So actually, I'm still learning to use an airbrush. So I used my airbrush um, to prime this, and I primed some other stuff with it, but I don't have a good space to airbrush, and I don't have a spray booth. So hey, if you guys want to do something cool for me, go find me a spray booth and send it to me. Um, but yeah, and so I had set up something in my garage, and I couldn't really see very well, apparently, because I thought I had covered it all, and I hadn't at all. And so I was like, I'm running out of time, because I had been planning on starting this last week and actually streaming last week, but then I made some changes to my schedule and did not do that. And yeah, I had been planning on doing it like streaming it like that night, and yeah, that didn't go as planned, and so I spray painted it the rest of the way. And I have actually most of the time with my minis I use a rattle can spray paint, um, Krylon Painter's Touch. No, is it Rust-Oleum? It's Rust-Oleum. Rust-Oleum Painter's Touch, the paint and primer in one, and I always used like a matte flat black. Um, and, you know, I think that makes pretty good primer. Now, I mean, primer that's made for minis probably has a higher concentration of pigments and all that kind of stuff. And so it may work a little better, but I don't really have any complaints about any of mine. Anyway, if you look too close at this wing, you can see that I primed it with the airbrush, and it didn't really come out very well. But it's enough that this coat of paint will stick, so that's really all we need. And we don't have, this doesn't have to be a perfect coat of paint, right? Because we're going to paint a lot of colors over it. But you still want to try to get it in every crevice, because it's going to be kind of our shadow color, right? It's going to be in those darker, more recessed places. Just noticing a couple of spots I missed over here. This is the other thing about painting something this big, like painting the whole thing like this, is that you tend to miss spots more often, I think, because you're just coating so much. Maybe it'll become a thing. Maybe like every stream that I'm painting a new mini, I'll drop it in water first before I start. And, Maybe that'll be fun for us. It's the new brown dragon. We're getting there. Yeah, this is my first time painting a mini this large. I painted a Santa Claus mini, and yeah, I might be a little quiet because I'm not talking very loud and the mic's not super close to my face. I don't remember what I was saying. I tell you what I'll do. I can turn it up a bit if that works better for you. All right. Just want to try to make sure I get all the spots on this side before I go to the back of the wings. I want to do the wings first just because they're the biggest surface area. Like, you know. Just try to see. Yeah. So what's going on, everybody? How's everybody doing this evening? Cool, cool. Glad that was better. You guys, this might be the most boring mini painting live stream ever because you're just gonna have to watch me paint one color all night long. I don't think that's true. It's not gonna take. It's not gonna take me 2 hours to coat this in brown. At least not this color. Maybe the second one. I really want to make sure with this coat, like I said, it's an undercoat, so it doesn't necessarily have to be perfect. Because for one thing, that's why you do second coats of things. But I do want this color to be in the deeper recesses so that it provides the color for shadows on the dragon's form, right? So it doesn't have to be perfect, but you do have to get it down in the crevices. Man, I got enough light in here. You'd think I could see better. Then I feel like I'm able to see. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and goodness, I keep finding spots. And this is why you do multiple coats. But I am not going to do multiple coats of this color. My intention is to do one coat of this color, and if I have to do multiple coats of something, it's going to be the bloody red. And this one, I mean, like, I need new glasses, guys. And I have to use my magnifier even on this guy because, like, some of the smaller details, I think that's why I'm missing a lot of spots. Is because I wasn't looking through the magnifier, and then when I looked through the magnifier, I'd see them, right? Okay, I think that's good. Nope. Just hit the camera. So I don't know if you guys saw the news about Diamond Comic Distributors filing bankruptcy back in January, and that is putting a whole lot of tabletop role playing game companies in a bad spot. Stephen Glicker, or Roll for Combat, he has a channel and he live streams and talks about industry news and stuff. And he got on his channel and talked about it recently. Professor Dungeon Master Dungeon Craft did a really good report on it, a good video on it. But essentially, what's happening now is that Diamond Comic Distributors, which I used to collect comics too. I don't so much anymore, but um, kind of being around that hobby and that industry a bit, I learned that Diamond kind of had a monopoly on comics distribution. Um, but then, of course, I learned that also that a lot of the RPG publishers also use Diamond distribution, and that's how they get into the bigger bookstores and things like that, Amazon, all that. Um, and it was Paizo that came out and said all of these new releases, and it's a lot of new releases that were supposed to be coming out this year. None of them are going to be available on Amazon or at Barnes and Noble because of Diamond. And what's happening is uh, Bob Ross. I keep Bob Ross in mind when I miss or forget things. Happy accidents. Happy accidents. Um, but Paizo, they make Pathfinder and Starfinder. Um, yeah, said all this, and it's because there was paperwork that needed to be filled out by all of these publishers um, who submitted books to Diamond to be distributed. And what happens is they ship these to the distributor, and the distributor holds them on consignment, meaning that they don't own it, like they haven't bought these books from the publishers. They're holding them on consignment, and then when they get sold, then the publisher gets money. Right, when they go to Amazon and Amazon sells it to a customer, then the publisher gets the money. And apparently, Diamond, because there was paperwork that apparently none of the publishers filled out, that was basically their way to say, this isn't yours, it belongs to us. So now Diamond is attempting to sell all of this inventory that they have in their warehouses to distribute that's not theirs in order to pay back their creditor, which is Chase Bank. And the problem is that there is precedent for this. This has happened before, and there's precedent for a distributor to be able to sell um, items that it held on consignment. And it's all because apparently none of these publishers filled out this paperwork, and apparently it's quite onerous. Like, it sounds to me, not being an industry insider or anything, but it sounds like to me that um, that they made this paperwork in such a way that nobody would want to fill it out because they'd have to hire a whole other person to do it. Like, it'd be somebody's full-time job just to fill out this paperwork. And if you think about like the comics companies like Marvel or DC, like they it's not this isn't like, okay, Batman as a series belongs to DC Comics, and so we got to fill out this paperwork one time for you know Batman. It's not like that. It's like book, every single issue of every comic book, they have to fill out that paperwork. And, the thing is, it probably would never have been an issue, except that Diamond is now filing for bankruptcy. And what does this do? What does this do to the industries that Diamond supports? And really and truly, in the comics industry, everybody uses Diamond because they're basically the only game in town. Now, Wizards of the Coast actually has some they use like 6 different distributors. So they're not in as bad a spot as maybe Paizo or Goodman Games or somebody like that. Get a little more paint in my palette. I might use up this whole bottle of brown, man. That's a lot of brown paint. Okay. All right. So yeah, like this could actually be a really huge deal for the TTRPG industry. I don't know what's gonna happen, man. I said Wizards of the Coast uses 6 different distributors, so it doesn't really have as big an impact on them as it does on some smaller publishers. And then there's Daggerheart, Darrington Press. Daggerheart's distributed through Macmillan, so it's not going to affect Daggerheart at all, which I guess is good news for them. Anybody out there had a chance to play Daggerheart? This particular technique is yeah. Maybe I should have used a bigger brush. This is my bigger good brush. So I have 2, this one and a smaller one, that are Kolinsky Sable brushes. And I'm not a good enough painter to really warrant owning these type of brushes, but I do feel like, I'm able to paint like smoother. The brushes last a lot longer than synthetic brushes. And if you go to a craft store and they have paint brushes labeled professional or artist brushes, they're not. They're all cheap synthetic brushes. So now, they are better than the absolute cheapest brushes you can get at those places, that's for sure. But yeah, just I really feel like when you're painting small details, you really need a decent brush. And it doesn't even necessarily have to be a small brush. Like this one probably has a good enough tip that I could a lot of times get details on smaller minis, but the really tiny stuff, absolutely not. I gotta have a smaller brush. This, yeah, we're starting to get into all the scales and stuff, and man, just a lot of detail to paint there, and make sure the paint gets down in there. I did prior to, normally I don't do this, and what was I don't even know what I was saying, so I just happened to look at the chat there. Um, yeah, I don't know what I was saying. Maybe I'll remember. Playing Daggerheart with chat as my GM. Okay. You're playing 3 of the pre-made characters. All right. I would love to hear how that goes. I haven't actually played it. I've read some of it and checked it out quite a bit. I did do a video talking about it recently, but I haven't actually had a chance to play it. And I haven't gotten my hands on that beautiful core set yet. I really would like to get it, but I didn't have the money to do it when it came out. So I think Daggerheart's going to be a big deal. But I'm running a 5e 2014 rules campaign with a group of folks here in my house, and that's a Phandelver and Below is the Phandelver and Below the Shattered Obelisk. That's a published one of WotC's published adventures, and it's pretty cool. I have the same problems with it that I have with pretty much all published adventures. I can't remember anything, and sometimes the way that they they're way too episodic. Like there's no connections between different parts of the story. So I find myself making those connections so that that the story makes more sense. Everything doesn't necessarily have to be directly connected, but All right, come on, get under there. All right, now on the bottom here, on the base, it's clearly that's the ground, so we probably will have some black shadows, but I'm going to take care of that with a black wash or something. Man, I don't know, guys. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe this will take me the whole 2 hours. And if that's the case, this may be a 3 or 4 part session. Yeah, Steven, I guess that's a good way to learn the game. I'm just not a huge fan of using AI for my games, and it's cool. I'm not judging anyone. Okay. I don't know. I actually, when ChatGPT first kind of started to become the big thing, before I kind of was aware of all of the issues with it, and with generative AI in general. I did do a little bit of that with D&D just to see what it was like, and I think I lasted about 10 minutes. I just really didn't like it. 2014 Dungeon in a Box, yeah. Yeah, Dungeon in a Box makes cool stuff, man. They have some neat stuff. But see, in that case, it works because to be episodic, because it may or may not be. They're related, right? Is that right? But if it's intended to be episodic, that's one thing. But I just feel like you get these published, especially I mean, there are a couple like Candlekeep Mysteries or something like that's actually kind of intended to be that way, and I totally get that. But this one in particular, like, it feels like they have just taken, um, because the beginning of it is the Lost Mine of Phandelver, and they didn't change a whole lot of that. They changed a little bit, um, and then the second, starting at like chapter 6 or something, is a totally um, different story set in the same area in Phandalin and around it. Um, but like the first part isn't like there's one or two little nods to the upcoming sections, but the first part of it is really not related to the rest of it at all. And so, like when I was running it, I spoiler alert if you haven't played this 11-year-old starter set adventure, the Black Spider, who's the big bad, who I was always irritated. I love Lost Mine of Phandelver, but I was always irritated by the fact that you don't really see him until the end. So I even changed stuff when I was running that. Um, anyway, like the Black Spider has nothing to do with anything else that's going on afterwards, and I just thought, why not? Like, why didn't you connect the Black Spider to the rest of this stuff that's going on? And so I did. I connected. I basically had the Black Spider attempting to do the same thing that the rest of the bad guys in that adventure in Phandelver and Below are attempting to do. But so I don't want to give that one away because it's not 10 years old. but but so far it's going pretty well. Last night was kind of a we had a session last night and I could have done better as a DM, but I think probably most of us say that a lot. Could have done better. But we had a good time, so. This dude is really cool. Oh man, I totally forgot about that. So, I remember what I was gonna say earlier. I don't normally do like fill in gaps and stuff on minis that I put together, but this one, because it's so big and there's so much going on, I did, and I think it came out all right. Goodness. I would love your suggestions on what else to do on craft and chats going forward. I mean, I have tons of minis to paint, so I mean, I can always pull out a mini and just paint something, which I probably will do. Because for one thing, this scheduling these means that I have to paint, so something. Or build something, or. And so I think I'm kind of thankful for that. Like that means maybe I'll get my minis painted, and I won't have such a big pile of shame back here. Oh goodness, look at what I did. I didn't even finish this wing. Left a bit. That wasn't a missed. That wasn't a missed spot. I just didn't paint it. So this guy's pretty cool though. I'll be excited to have the finished product. It's just going to take a lot longer than I'm used to because I usually just paint, little minis. I am thinking about. I have this really cool headless horseman. It's from Loot Studios. I got it. I've actually had it for a couple of years, and I primed it, and I've never painted it. It's a big statue size print, but he's a centaur But he's still got like, you know, a pumpkin for a head, and you can take the pumpkin off of his head, of his neck. Um, but I'm thinking maybe in October I'll paint that guy up on a craft and chat. And I've also got, and I don't, I've got some other stuff that I could do. I just don't think I'm going to be able to do it on craft and chat. Like I don't think I'm going to be able to stream it. I have a set of some dungeon, like a dwarven tomb terrain. Is that right? Yeah, this terrain set is 3D printed. I got the files from I think, what are they called? LV427, I think is what they're called, because LV426 is the planet on Alien, and they're named after that, but they didn't go with the same number. So, but they do some really cool, like mainly I think wargaming, sci-fi terrain stuff, but they did this one set that was like I think it's like a dwarven tomb, and it's pretty cool. And I've printed it. I've got it stuck in a closet, and I just have not had an opportunity to put it together. But they actually sent it to me and asked me to do a video on it, and I haven't been able to, because doing videos like that is a lot more, takes a lot more work, a lot more editing, um, than just you know, a talking head video, which is what I usually do. Um, but it's something I enjoy. I enjoy building terrain quite a bit. Um, it just, you know, takes a lot of work, and then making a video on top of it makes it take 3 times as long. So, but you know, well, we're getting there, guys, slowly but surely. Although I did just realize there's a little nub right here from um, the manufacturing, from the injection mold that I meant to cut off, and I forgot about it. Like, I saw it initially, and then I guess by the time I got to filling gaps and everything, I totally forgot about it, because I had to do that before I primed it. Got a couple of spots up here. I'm gonna try to get in his mouth. This is, yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know if I can even get in there. This gets a little tricky sometimes. Okay. I think I got it. It's hard to tell. Sorry, I know I was kind of pulling out of the camera view, but I couldn't get my paintbrush in the top of his mouth. Actually, I love to 3D print miniatures, and I do it a lot. In fact, I'm printing some now for another game that I'm running in DCC, Dungeon Crawl Classics game, which I really, that's kind of my go-to game usually. And I'm doing a homebrew DCC campaign, and I'm printing some minis for that. And I use a lot of printed minis for most of my games. I think most of the minis I have are printed. Not a huge fan of WizKids minis. They're fine. Like, they look nice. Like, the details are really cool and everything. But I really despise painting them because of that. Because they are. I mean, like, this guy's really detailed, and Reaper minis are quite detailed, but they're in that, what they call it, heroic scale. So they're a little bit bigger. Even the regular minis are a little bit bigger. Their features are more pronounced. They're kind of almost a little cartoony. which is fun, and it actually makes them a little easier to paint. Paintability is a big thing. Like Lude Studios minis, their minis look incredible. The details are so awesome, and I've painted several of them, and I like them a lot. But some of them are quite a pain to paint because there's just so much detail. I've got too much paint on here. I'm gonna try to scoop some of this paint out before it dries up on me. Get some more on here. Missing some spots in there. I do want to make sure that I get everything. If I get a chance to use this guy in a game, that'll be awesome. But I think for the most part, he's going to be a showpiece. So, oh my gosh, it really is almost 8 o'clock, guys. Man, I really thought I'd get more done than a coat of brown. Well, guess what? Time for more paint. Who would have thought that brown would be the first color of all these paints that I'd actually run out of? This is always the tricky part, is trying to get up and inside all these little nooks and crannies. It's one reason why I'd really like to get at least skilled enough with an airbrush to do stuff like this with it, you know, at least to do the base coats, prime and base coat. So I'll say what I always say. I'm not a professional painter. I'm not an artist. I enjoy painting miniatures, and I've always been fascinated by miniature things. And I was into model railroading for a while, and that sort of was a gateway for me into doing minis and stuff. So, and building terrain. I started with building terrain before I painted minis, because I was, done model railroad stuff. So I built some big terrain pieces already. Maybe I'll show that to you guys sometime. All the doors in my house are very loud. That was literally just one of my kids walking into their bedroom. So, but you don't have to be an artist to paint miniatures. It doesn't have to be perfect, man. I mean, I think that if you just decide that it doesn't have to be perfect, and you're going to be satisfied with what you can do, and maybe trying to, improve as you go along, that you'll get a lot more enjoyment out of painting minis than you might otherwise. Because really and truly, they don't have to be perfect. You just want to put them. They need to be table ready, and that that can be different for anybody. I mean, you watch Dr. Faust and Lila Mev and different people like that, and Sigmar paint miniatures, and they're phenomenal. They're great, and but they don't have to be painted like that to be on your game table. In fact, most of the time, if I have one painted that nicely, I might not put it on the game table. That's not true. I probably would. But you know what I mean? Like, it's a hobby. You don't have to be. I think YouTube is great because we actually can learn how to do things and see other people do things in a way that is, you know, for one thing, it's free for most people. Um, and there you have access to tons of information, but at the same time, I think with things like this, that and even with like DMing, running tabletop role playing games, that it creates, in some ways, it creates unrealistic expectations. Like people watch Dr. Faust paint a mini, and he's incredible, and they're never satisfied because their minis don't look like that. And I'm like, my minis are never going to look like that. Could I learn to paint that way? Maybe. I honestly don't know. um, but I don't know if I really want to, you know? Like, it doesn't matter that much to me that they look like a professional painted them. You know what I mean? But if you want that, then that's fine. Learn to do it. It's cool. But don't be dissatisfied if your minis aren't artistic masterpieces. They don't have to be. I guarantee you, if you put some effort in, it's kind of like it's hit the camera again. It's kind of like I used to tell people about barbecue. Like I used to cook a lot of barbecue, and I think most people are incredibly impressed with it, uh, because they don't because they don't do it. Like, it's really not that hard. It's just people don't do it. And they have this, and it does take effort. It does take effort, but some things I think are just not as difficult as people think they are, and they never try it, and then they're just really impressed by anyone who does, which is fine. That's good. I made barbecue for a lot of folks who were like, "Wow, this is so good," and they thought I was so amazing. I'm like, it wasn't that hard, but thanks. Oh goodness. I'm starting to get sloppy, guys. Like, I've been doing this same thing so long. I'm kind of losing focus. So, what'd you do last night? Oh, I watched Judd paint a brown dragon. A brown dragon. Why did he paint a brown dragon? So, and then next week will be the next brown coat. And then the next week will be the first red coat. And eventually, maybe in a couple of months, we'll get to the orange highlights. Nah. I think once we get past these initial base coats, it's gonna go lots quicker. I am gonna paint all of this stuff brown though, too, just to give it a good base coat. You know, because it's the ground, it's dirt and rocks and all that. There's gonna be some brown in there. And then I'll probably, like I said, put some black wash on it to create some good black shadows, because you do want that on the ground. We're getting there. We're getting there. I gotta focus. I keep going places I'm not ready to go yet. Like I really want to get the dragon done before I paint the ground, right? I mean, there's nothing wrong with using rattle can paint, okay? I mean, look at that guy, man. It's a chocolate dragon. It's like you get that in your Easter basket. It's got peanut butter on the inside. The Reese's dragon. That sounds delicious. I'm not gonna lie. I love peanut butter. How many of you guys like peanut butter? I don't even know how many people are watching. I haven't even looked. That's all right. Me and Steven are hanging out. I had been planning to go to Gen Con. I think I talked to you guys about this before, which is happening at the end of the month. And when I lost my job in May, I had to cancel that trip, which was a real bummer because I wasn't even, got a press badge. That's one of the nice things about being a YouTuber with a little bit of an established uh, record, you know. As they gave me a press badge, so I didn't even have to pay to get into Gen Con, but I was going to have to pay for, you know, place to stay and all that. And I was actually going to run some, like I was trying to, basically I was trying to make money while I was there so that I could have money to spend, you know. Um, but I didn't want to work. Basically, I was running some games. I signed up to run games for Chaosium and Goodman Games while I was there, and but I didn't want to do so much of that I didn't get a chance to play stuff. And then I went up too with like so much going on. I'm sorry, I know I'm moving it out of the shot. Sometimes I get to a point where I can't really see it without bringing it closer to my face. Especially when I have to turn it around a lot. But I had to cancel my Gen Con trip, and you know, I felt I'm kind of jealous. Like I keep seeing stuff about people going to Gen Con. They keep sending me emails, you know, and I keep getting emails from like because I guess because I was on the press list, I keep getting emails from like game companies that are going to be there, like come visit us, and you know, I'm like thanks guys, thanks guys, you're really rubbing it in. But hopefully, uh, I either get a job soon or the YouTube channel just blows up. I'm not really banking on that, guys. I'd love for it to happen. I love doing it. Love hanging out with you guys. Love making the videos. Love playing the games. But I'm not banking on that happening. Um, so either the YouTube channel blows up or I find a job. And next year I will be going to Gen Con. And speaking of all those things, I just want to give you one more plug. Check out the Adventurers Guild on Patreon. Patreon.com/shortreststudios, because uh, that would be, it would help me out. Like if you check out that, I mean, because right now honestly, I'm unemployed and I'm not sitting over here trying to make anybody feel sorry for me. That's not what's going on. But I could use the help. So I mean, even if you could spare a month of a subscription to the Patreon, that would be a massive help. Patreon.com/shortreststudios. Every little bit helps, man. But I am still able to make videos and to paint and craft and play games. We're getting there, guys. There's a shield in there too. I saw it, so I don't know if you guys can see it. So, there's rocks and dirt and stuff. But there's a lance here on the ground right there. And then back here next to his foot looks like a shield. I know this is, I'm going to try to get some of these little spots I missed down here, but this area especially, I'm not going to worry too much about. I almost dropped it again, Steven. I'm not going to worry too much about the deep spots being black still, because I think we actually kind of want that. There's a spot. And this too, man. So underbelly with these big ridges, man, it's kind of hard to make sure you get up in there. And you want to have some paint. Because if you get too many spots where there's like no paint, and it's probably gonna happen, especially with all this detail. You get too many spots with no paint, then that leaves like room for the paint that is there to peel off. Well, if you seal it, it should be okay, but you don't really want to leave any bare spots. But the good thing is, up underneath, you can leave a lot of it brown, and it's just shadow. It's just shadow, right? That's the whole point of doing this. I'm having a little bit of trouble getting in there. Okay, guys, I think almost. His claws. Nope, the inside of that hand isn't painted. Or that whole arm. I know you guys can't see this because I can't see it. So the good thing about painting this color, a big base color like this is, I can just stick the brush wherever I want to. Oh, look, see? Okay, I need more. What I'm trying to do is not get any more paint. Okay. But I'm gonna have to. I'm so close. So close. Oh, look. I missed some spots back here, too. On the back of his head. This little fins. Oh, look. And there's... Gosh. I was kind of hoping I'd be able to leave him on the desk like this to paint him. But it just wasn't working. Okay, I think I got all that. Oh, look, now I see something down here that I didn't get. This guy really is making me hungry. I may have to go find some chocolate. Come on. Come on. Okay. Let me just kind of try to give him give him a once over and see what spots I missed that I can go back and fix. Sheesh. I keep seeing spots on the dang wings. Now, when my video, when my episode comes out on Friday, you guys are going to see that this guy is still black on the desk behind me because I filmed it earlier today. So, before I did any of this. Really just trying to, now I'm just making sure that I don't have any very obvious black spots still. And I know I'm getting quiet, guys. I apologize. This is a quiet activity for me, you know. A little bit here. I think. Getting there. Oh, you know what I didn't do? I don't think I got up under his chin, which, like, what's the likelihood that, I mean, if somebody sees that, it's going to be because they were looking for it. You know what I mean? Like, nobody's going to pick him up and go, look under his chin, you know. I did have somebody do that once to a mini that I painted. Oh, you missed. Like, we were using it at the table. And he picks it up and starts flipping it around. Oh, you missed this under here, under his arm. Like, man, forget you. Yeah, for some reason, I think it's probably because I used both airbrush paint and rattle can paint. I think there's the paint's kind of, the primer's kind of coming off of my hands, but it's not too bad, so it'll wash off. Okay, I think, I mean, the problem is I keep starting to say I think I'm done, I think I got it, and every time I do I see another spot. I probably will always see a spot forever and eternity. It took an hour and 15 minutes to get to this point, guys. Of course, I did talk a little bit at the beginning. Now, so moving forward, sorry, my cup keeps sticking to the coaster over here because it's got condensation on it. And every time I pick it up, it picks the coaster up. Oh, I'm going to give him a second and let the rest of that dry. One of the nice things about acrylic miniature paints is they dry pretty quick. I'm going to show you guys this. This is actually from The Printing Goes Ever On, if you're familiar with those guys. I just got him off the printer. I'm actually thinking I might make him a little bigger. I want him to be a little bit bigger. But he's pretty cool. I've also got some giant beetles. Okay, so the next color, I'm not going to mess anymore with the base. I'm going to leave the base alone for now. because I'm going to do a different color scheme on it. The rest of this is going to go on the dragon himself. And so I'm thinking what I may do is just kind of overbrush this, really, and so it'll leave like the spaces under the scales. Like I won't get down in the crevices with this color, if that makes sense. I'm looking at it. Yeah, it'll be all right. All right, let's see. So I'm thinking what we'll do is get a bit of that. And this is going to be substantially lighter, and actually probably a little bit lighter than the red even, but I'm going to do... Actually, I don't even know if I can do this. It's like I still got wet paint. Okay, so I'm not going to do the horns. I'm not going to do this to the horns. I'm not going to do it to the claws. But I will kind of do... You see, it's a little bit... That's a little bit too much like dry brush right there. Like that's too thin, but... I'm not going to... I'm just not trying to get everything with it, essentially. I think it will... Oh, I got some on the horn, but that's okay, because I'm going to do the horns completely different colors, so it doesn't really matter. I'm going to kind of leave the inside as eye sockets there. And so this is going to look a bit sloppy, but not always. The further along we go, get a little bit more of that. And see, it does darken up a bit. I might get a little more down in those. Like in this area, the scales seem to be less pronounced, so I might actually just put a little bit more of this on to get down in those crevices a bit. Places like right there, I want to leave some of that brown. Like right here on his arm. Like, let's do this. And down in those. Like I'm trying to leave like the sort of definition of the muscle. I'm not getting down in there with this. I did get down in there though, and I didn't want to do that. So I'll see if I can get some of that out of there. It's a little better. I'm not really highlighting right now because oh, look at that. I just found a black spot under there. I'm not highlighting, right? And I'm not dry brushing. I just, oh, that was too much. He's looking all right. He's getting some definition there. I think that's going to be good. I think that's going to be good. And like, listen, like I said, guys, none of this has to be perfect, right? There goes my coaster again. Have a good night, Steven. Thanks for hanging out. I guess I'll continue this. I was going to actually hit that black spot under his arm there, but I kind of forgot about it. So you do kind of overbrush this, then you'll get a lot of those. You'll leave a lot of those crevices. Like, I think that's fine. That's fine right there. Look, some more black. Goodness. Okay. We're going to cover some of that. Really and truly, it's probably okay to just leave some of those underside shadows like this brown, you know, like not even get, you might want to get a little bit of red on it, but it will actually, like you do this orangey brown and then you do red on top of that. Or you just do the brown and then look at that, found some more. Good grief. So if you do the brown and then the parasite brown and then red, that will look different than if you just do brown and then red, right? And look, there's no reason you couldn't do that. So and he's like, like I said, you want to get it on pretty heavy, but not too heavy. It doesn't have to be completely out of all the little crevices, but you want to try to avoid it as much as you can, right? Okay, so I'm going to leave like that right there. I'm not going to get too far into that where his leg bends right there, or into this crease in his muscle. But I will do this. The chocolate dragon. Okay. Oh, we need to get some of this here. And look, I mean, I know you guys can watch this and tell I am not a professional painter. I'm really just doing this because I enjoy doing it, and it's an opportunity for me to hang out with some folks on this live stream. That is really it. I enjoy painting miniatures, and I have been excited about painting this guy. I've had this guy for a year. Okay. So I think I could use some more. I have had this dragon for a year. I bought him at ReaperCon last year. So ReaperCon, if you guys don't know, is the Reaper. Reaper does their own convention every year in Denton, Texas, which is where the Reaper factory is. There's some wet brown paint down in there, so I can't do that part right now. Okay. There's some. Okay. But I can do up here. But I can't get down under there. Can't get down under his tail there. His paint's so wet under there. So I actually probably need to touch that up a little bit with the brown. But I am going to go ahead and hit his fins, ridges, whatever you want to call them, with a thin coat of this color, because I will probably, what I will want to do is put a good coat of red on those. So and it's really okay, guys, if it's a bit messy, because also, I mean, I think in a lot of ways it enhances the sort of organic feel of it if it's not perfect. He's looking all right. He's not looking like he's supposed to look yet, but he's getting there. Gonna get some more Parasite brown. Listen, it's always better to put too little paint on your palette than to put too much, because you can't put it back in the bottle. And maybe you can, but it's not easy. Let's go ahead and do that a little more. This coat is really just to kind of give it that undertone, because it's not gonna, this stuff is really gonna be painted red, like for real. And under here, I am almost dry brushing under here because I don't want to get too much, I don't want it to be too bright under there. I want it to feel like there's some shadow and stuff. Let's see. And this is precisely why I will never be I will never receive prizes for my painting, and that's okay. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get the other side of these ridges. Yeah. And I really will, I'll get much more careful when I get to the red, which is the next color. Because then it's going to be about details and stuff, you know. Okay, we're getting there. All right. We want to get okay. Yeah. All right. And get some of that on the inside. I can try to get in here. Okay. See if that paint's dried in there yet. No, it is not. Okay. Okay. Now it's time to go for the wings. And we'll do the same kind of thing. only we're going to cover a lot more of it than we did before. So one of the things I like to do too is just to really liven up a bright color like a red is to wash it afterwards with red acrylic ink. And it just makes it really, really pop. So I am not being very clean with this because I really want to hit, I'm really almost dry brushing because I want to hit these high spots. And there's not really going to be shadow here, but what I'm going to do is paint over this with the red. And I think it will produce a bit of variation in the red and the intensity of the red when I paint that over this. So it, so you can see the wrinkles in his wings. Oh, look. More spots I missed. I'm going to do the same thing over here. So you will have shadows like in there. So that's why I'm leaving some of that brown there. And I kind of like a grungy kind of feel to a lot of my minis. And that may partly be because it's easier. We got about 20 minutes left, guys. So I don't even know if we'll finish this bit. But next time, we will really start to see the magic happen. Right? really get ready to dry brush, I will use a different brush. See, like I wouldn't dry brush with this thing because it won't do that very well, right? But it does this part exactly the way I need it to. So you could do this and then just put red ink over it, and all of this would look red. It would just be quite varied. But that's a little too, like, I don't want this, I don't want these colors to show, or this variation to show through quite that much, if that makes sense. Like using red paint. We'll cover it up more. And but the variation should still come through a bit. And yeah, I know I'm not painting in straight lines or anything, but it's okay. We'll live, guys. We'll live. This part doesn't have to be exact. And we will get to a point where it needs to be a little bit more exact. But this certainly doesn't need to be. Cut this. Again, in this part, be a little more like diligent about covering it. And listen, even if you didn't do the greatest job painting a mini like this, you put this thing out on the table and people are going to be like, whoa, that's cool. Because guess what? It is cool. And I'll use that ink. Yeah, I think I definitely will, because it will also even color in some of the black spots, because it'll run in everywhere. I'll use that. I mean, oh gosh, I don't know. I'll use it on the wings for sure and just kind of coat the wings with it, I bet. And then maybe just like where I want shadows on the body, I can be a little more specific, a little more intentional with it. See, I sort of forgot what I was doing there, and I started painting down those claws with the orange. I keep hitting my camera holder there. And when we come along later and do some highlighting, like we're going to paint red, but then we'll come along and do some highlighting with like orange and yellow. Hey, there we go. Cool. Cool, 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 cool. I do want to get this thumb, though. I didn't get his thumb right there. I guess you want to call that a thumb. Didn't get that one either. Wow, how about that? Okay. 8:48. Well, I think here's what I'm going to do. No, actually, I'm not going to do that because I do need to be fairly precise there. I got 12 minutes. I'll go ahead and do some red. I'll do a little bit anyway. Although I'm still going to need to come along and get down here a bit more with the because this. Okay, there we go. Okay, that's the part I missed earlier, or didn't miss, but the brown underneath was still wet. All right, we're gonna go to the face, and I'm gonna get some red. Like I said, is where we're going to start getting a little more precise with our painting. And probably have to do a couple of coats. So we'll at least get started on this red here. I'm leaving a lot of the brown in the inside the thing in the eye socket. Like this right here inside here can also be red. And all this down here, like we don't really, like there's no reason to have shadows on this part of his face really. But you can see how the variations created by the base coat. Shoot. I may have to put a little black ink in his nostrils or something. I think I accidentally got red inside his nostril. I didn't mean to do that. I'm really just trying to get this surface done and kind of leave that little bit of brown in there. And I probably will use my smaller brush to paint his eyelids so that his eyelids are red, but the rest of that area is still brown because it's in shadow. Oh, I want to get all this, and then I'll paint his teeth like white, bone white. I'm gonna get red inside his mouth. I'm gonna probably make his tongue a little like pink, just to make it different from his face, you know. Can you guys hear me? See, that's starting to look cool. And we'll do a second coat. On that, and when we go back to do his horns, they're going to be completely different. Excuse me. Okay. And see what I'll do here is I'm kind of painting over this. And I'll do multiple coats on this. But I am leaving, you see, I'm not painting that, specifically not painting in these little shadow areas that I purposefully left dark brown. And yeah, this is because we're doing, our primary color. We're being much more precise. And you leave those darker areas in between the musculature and really like the definition of his muscles really pop. I'm just going to try to get this kind of covered. See, guys, it's starting to look like a red dragon now. Okay. That said, I think we're going to go ahead and call it an evening. He's starting to get there now. Y'all thought I was crazy, didn't you? But now you know. I'm not crazy. I'm insane. It's not funny. Mental health is no joke, guys. Well, adventurers, thanks for joining me. Thanks for joining me, and next week we will continue this guy, and maybe we'll get him finished next week. Who knows? I don't know about that. But hey, please don't forget to check out patreon.com/shortreststudios and consider supporting the channel there. Check out Carolina Game Tables and use that Short Rest Studios coupon code for 10% off your purchase. I also get a little kickback from that, so I appreciate that. And don't forget to keep an eye out on Friday for my newest video, the 10 most terrifying subterranean monsters in D&D. And I will see you guys next time on Short Rest Studios.